Hello, and welcome back to the new 7 Days podcast. I'm your host, Eric,
And I'm Joshua.
and today we're covering episode 2 of the English dub of the World Ends of Feud animation.
Yes.
And so we already kind of discussed the voice actors and our overall opinions. And from what we saw in the show, not much has changed.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
Mhm.
Neku, I just think it's so far off. Like, he's not doing a bad job. It's just his voice does not fit the character.
Yeah. No, because I think Neku should be higher considering also his age.
Yeah, his age. He's a shonen protagonist at this point. In the game, he sorry. Sorry, I have a persistent cough from when I was sick. So
Get some water or something. Maybe
yeah,
help.
might need that.
But
I sound like death, but it's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean overall for the episode 2, I mean at least when it comes to script wise, it was still pretty spot on. There's just there's a few things that you have to change in order to like make it fit the lip flaps and whatnot. So you get like some weird. There was some like kind of didn't fit slang, I guess you could say, towards the beginning of the episode. And then there's also the mispronunciation of Makoto.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we want to get into that? The big
yeah, we can get into that.
So minor character
like 3 times.
Three separate characters. So it's a minor character. He does show up quite a bit more in the game, but he doesn't show up much in the show. But Makoto, everyone's favorite businessman, except there's also another businessman that doesn't even show up in the show, so it's fine. Whatever. Instead of saying Makoto, which is a fairly common name in anime, I assume. At least it is in Persona, because it's 2 different Makotos.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, Makoto is a pretty common last name in Japan.
Yeah, and so we got, instead of Makoto, we got Makoto.
I do not know how you reached that. Like, even the lip flaps would still be fine if you went with Makoto.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I have to chalk it up to the voice director's decisions on how they wanted that to be voiced, but even then, I'm like, still kind of questioning it. It's either that or they just did not give any direction to the extras.
Yeah, probably not. And I think every character that said it was also a minor character. So they're saying a minor character's name. Only minor characters had to say the minor character name. They probably didn't care.
Yeah.
So, and I'm out of water. So that's good.
Always come prepared with a full bottle before starting recording.
Yeah. I'll try to mute myself next time I have to cough.
Well, I mean, as long as it isn't too bad of a fit, it's fine.
Yeah, but I shouldn't cough too much in the microphone. I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
I mean, they understand you're still kind of getting over it. But anyway, getting over being sick, but it's fine.
Getting over it with Bennett Foddy?
Yes, that very, very fun game that people should definitely play.
Yep. Speaking of which,
not rage-inducing at all.
Okay. Anyways. Beat, I still think was pretty good. Rhyme, I still think was decent. And the minor characters are minor characters. None of them I don't think really come back except for like AGOG. And he was fine.
Also, I didn't realize this, and but probably because I wasn't looking for it the first time through. But man, we see what are those 2 Reapers from week 2 called? We see them a lot this episode.
The 2 Reapers?
Not Reapers, players. Sorry.
Oh, Sota and Naoto?
Yeah.
Oh no, not Naoto. Now,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw. They appeared 3 separate times in this episode. I didn't
even notice them 3 times. I only noticed them the one time where they scanned them.
Yeah, no, they appear in the scan, they appear at the crossing thing, and then I believe they appear a little bit earlier just walking by as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was interesting 'cause they do show up on day 6 of the game.
Hmm.
Um, and then the next thing we know are the players, and we don't have any connective tissue. Like we don't know what happened to them between day 6 and day 1
And then
of.
yeah.
And in the show, like spoilers, but we've already done a whole podcast on the show. Um, in
So
day
go back
one
and
of
check
week,
that out for original thoughts.
yeah, day 1 of week 2, they show on the screen a like news cast of like, oh, these two got ran over by a car. It's like, oh, okay, that's how this all connected.
Hmm.
It might have been actually day 6 of the show because it might have been when Neku found out um, that they're dead.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
anyways, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Otherwise, the Joshua introduction is still
yeah, let's go
just
back.
odd.
Let's go to the beginning of this episode and kind of just walk through it again.
That's
And we
fine.
don't
We
have to
can
go
just talk
to
about
depth.
it in any order. It's mostly because it covers the Shiki subplot the entire episode. Basically, it's
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
simple.
I want to talk about it. I do want to talk about a little bit just from the beginning because I actually, again, I'm trying to separate this from the game and just look at it as a show. And as a show, this episode wasn't actually that bad. Like, it's not great, but it felt less rushed in a lot of areas than, um,
Than some of the other episodes in the show. Yeah,
yeah,
this episode feels more along the lines of like what week 2 feels like in the
yeah,
anime.
yeah. Like, I think we probably gave this like the hardest time of like probably any episode. Well, that's not
Yeah,
true. You gave it the hardest time of any episode. I gave a lot of episodes a lot of crap, so who knows?
yeah. Well, I think it's just because it was the one fight scene, which honestly I don't even think I noticed this time. But I think that
Yeah,
may have just been because I wasn't exactly paying too hard of an attention to it, like for
yeah,
taking notes and whatnot.
yeah. We weren't
So
taking notes or anything this time. We're just watching and then recording. So this is not like last time where we would watch the episode like 3 times, take notes, me playing the game.
yeah, and maybe it's just because we watched it 3 times that scene I just picked up on like so many details that I had problems with the first time.
Yeah. No, I didn't think it was that bad, but like we got foreshadowing that Beat and Ryan were siblings, which
Hmm.
I don't think you picked up on the first time.
Nope, I noticed it this time though.
Yeah, in the game, they have this whole conversation, but like Beat doesn't necessarily react that much because it's hard to do this kind of reaction when you have
Hmm.
just still images and text
Yeah,
boxes.
no, there's a very subtle reaction from B in that conversation.
Yeah. We get some foreshadowing to stuff just later in the episode of like Shiki not being in her own body.
Hmm.
Um, which is not a whole lot of foreshadowing in that.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy to figure out even the first time.
Yeah, that one you can tell it's revealed in the same episode. So, but like
Yeah.
in the game, there's not a whole lot of foreshadowing that she's not in her body. It's like day 6 is when you figure that out, and that's
Hmm.
it. Um, there was a cute conversation with the 2 pins where the 2 pin conversation typically in the game happened on day 2, and
Hmm.
she gets really flustered like, oh, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having 2 pins, like I'm not accusing you of anything, there's nothing wrong with it. And in here she makes a suggestion of what he could do with the second pin, and I just found that kind of cute. I don't remember if that's in the
I forget if
Japanese.
I forget if it was the same suggestion in the Japanese one or not, but I mean, it worked for in the English one as well.
Yeah, so her suggestion was put it close to your heart, and that way it can protect you like a tiny shield.
Although, I mean, a bullet would have to be pretty precise for that. But I mean, knowing Neku, he needs a.
Yeah, honestly, that would have saved him in the ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he did do
Um,
it. We don't know.
yeah, who knows? But yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I don't think the character development was deserved still. I think they I don't think it was as bad as I originally gave it credit. One, I guess not credit for, but gave it crap for. I just still feel like they're trying to get through, and I can somewhat understand why. Week one, you don't know a lot about the game, and so it really is. You think you are just working to get yourself out of the game. Just make it through the 7 days, and you're done.
Mhm.
It's not until week two where we really get the story of, hey, the Reapers are kind of messed up, and there's this composer, and you're gonna have to take that over. Like that's what week two is.
Mhm.
So like they're really just trying to get through week one because after week one is when the story starts.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I get that. Just
so I think like with Shiki, they are just flying through her character development and Neku's character development, being like, yep, they care for each other and they grew because of each other, and that's it.
yeah.
By the way, I can hear your leg tapping.
Sorry.
Yeah. That won't show up in the audio at all. You're welcome, America. And then we get the Josua-Ex-Machina.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is
so
actually honestly that that comparison isn't entirely wrong. You could probably actually replace Joshua for Davis, and it means the exact same thing in this context.
yeah, no, it actually does. That's what makes that so funny. For those who don't know, actually, I don't know what the direct translation is. I know Deus is God in Greek, and the Deus Ex Machina was a machine used by the actors in theater to play God. It was essentially like made them fly. But I don't know what the direct translation of Ex Machina would be.
I mean, also Deus Ex Machina refers to like a thing like in theater, basically in the old times, where they basically use like it would be explained by a narrator that basically like God solved the problem of the play.
Yeah, so that's what it's used. It's used as a narrative device to be like something came and solved the problem, like some God type force.
Yeah, and usually kind of comes out of nowhere with no build up.
Here's the not direct translation, but the meaning.
At least based off of Oxford's dictionary.
Yeah, an unexpected power or event saving or seemingly saving a seemingly hopeless situation, especially as a contrived plot device in a play or novel. God from the machine is Deus Ex Machina. I had to catch up on my Greek there a little bit. Been a while.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah.
Yeah, so Josua-Ex-Machina, it fits. Again, we said there's gonna be spoilers. You should have watched the show the first time.
Yeah. Still, honestly, I think the show like brutally kills a lot of players in the show, probably way more than they did in the game.
Oh yeah, in the game, you don't see any other players outside of the named ones. So you definitely see a lot more brutal stuff. But again, it's just like in the context of this as a show, not looking at it as a comparison to the game, I guess they wanted to foreshadow Josh, but there wasn't much of a need to. And as a show, if they really wanted to foreshadow Josh and what he was doing, I feel like it would have made more sense to show him in the background of scenes, like watching, instead of, if anyone's been watching What If, which I don't know if you watched What If, have you?
I've watched like about the first 4 episodes. I just haven't been keeping up. I've been busy.
Yeah, okay. So if you've seen What If, you know that in the stories, even when the watcher's not doing anything, like even if he's not even talking, he'll just show up in the background of scenes. That's what Joshua should have been if they wanted to foreshadow Josh, was him watching over his proxy and making sure and not intervening, because we do kind of see that in the opening of the game. Neku's running around, and we see him cross Shiki's path and Beat's path and Rhyme's path, and none of them notice him. But then he crosses Joshua's path, and Joshua turns and follows as Neku runs past him.
Mm-hmm. I think the opening portrays that pretty well.
Yeah. Again, I think that would have been a better way to have foreshadowed Josh than being like, here's a giant noise, and now it's deleted by Josh.
Yeah. It really was out of place even the first time.
Yeah. Well, I get that, again, we just talked about how they foreshadow Beat and Rhyme and Shiki being out like in Aries' body and everything. But this isn't just foreshadowing, oh, Josh is coming, or Josh is going to be a partner, or Josh is important. This is foreshadowing Josh is God.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is showing you, like, this is the reveal of the whole game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It was a weird decision all around. But
yeah.
Anyways, other than that.
I think it was still a good episode, though, actually.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this episode was probably better than my first impressions on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just because time has been better on it and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I think this definitely aged better than.
I guess it's probably also just because we know where the show's going and how it compares to the rest of the series.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that I'm not looking at this as a comparison to the game. I'm looking at this as where is it going and how did it get there?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does fit better knowing how this show ends than
not knowing.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that week they still to week.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that they still didn't make dumb decisions. They still made a lot of dumb decisions, but they're not as egregious
as we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I don't really have a lot else to say about this episode.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to the secret reports then for the days covered?
One thing that I think I forgot to bring up from last episode, I might have, I don't remember, that we'll never get a chance to bring up again anyways.
Mm-hmm.
The technician was a Reaper. Like, they did heavily imply that he's a Reaper, and yet he just never shows up again at all. And it's like, again, why? He wasn't a Reaper in the original game. And also, he doesn't matter, so why make him a Reaper? Like, that was just weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just interpreting the game wrong, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, like, that was weird for me, of just like, why? Why was the technician?
Couldn't tell you.
It goes nowhere. It goes nowhere either way. So,
anyways,
that's it. Now we go on to secret reports. I'll let you read, and I'll turn off my mic so I don't go off while you read.
Okay. All right. So, and just to specify, we're covering days 5 and 6 of Shiki's week because that's technically what was covered in the anime, but we're going back to Shiki Day 4 in episode 3. So, anyways, Shiki Day 5, Secret Report 5. The real ground and underground are planes of existence. Other planes exist as well. The one inhabited solely by noise, for example, or our customary plane. The planes are stacked in parallel, though each exists at a different frequency vibe in tune with its inhabitants. Observing a lower plane from a higher plane is simple. Actually, transplanar contact, whilst possible, is highly complex. The vibes of adjacent planes are closer, making passages between them comparatively easy. More distant planes show greater difference in vibe frequencies, and thus communion becomes more difficult. The UG exists just above the RG, allowing those in the UG to observe the RG, but not vice versa. Noise exists on a special plane that straddles both the RG and UG, enabling the interference in the affairs of both. When players come into contact with noise, they are drawn into the noise plane. In other words, players are forcibly tuned in to the noise plane. Conversely, there exists an even higher plane than the RG and UG. That is where I am from, the plane of the angels. As in the RG and UG, angels have created a web of social schema to guide their activities. The role of producer is just one cog in the angel machine. Angel vibes are extremely high frequency. Not even the composer can catch them all. In actuality, you can pick up only that of the composer. As you can see, interplanar contact is beset by difficulty, but certain modes do exist for its realization. One is the modulator decal. Within its area of effect, players from the UG can manifest visibly in the RG and communicate with others there. Represent composers can downtune their vibes at will. Near these decals, however, their vibes will be forcibly adjusted to the lower frequency. Another mode, imprinting, requires no physical manifestation, the RG. Imprintees experience the comfort thoughts as bursts of inspiration. The reliability of these communiques thus depends on the person receiving it. For example, successful communication with preoccupied people is unlikely. Furthermore, recipient interpretation of said inspiration colors the message, making imprinting unreliable at best. Reaper Creeper was created as a mode of popular communication between the planes. Modulating paralogos printed on paper allowed for limited UG interaction with real ground objects. As those in the RG are unaware of players, they perceive the illusion of a coin moving by itself.
Yeah. That was a long one.
Yeah, that was a lot of text.
Yeah. So Reaper Creeper was something that we never see in the show, but it was essentially just a Ouija board.
I see.
You use it in a couple of the missions to do stuff. It's a Ouija board. You are the ghost moving the coin. People ask you a yes/no question.
But this also kind of covers the the whole stickers thing and whatnot in shops and whatnot.
Yeah, so shops they teach you very early on in the game, and instead they waited till Joshua to teach you about the shops.
No, I know. It was late, but
yeah. So that's why we see it here, though, is that because in the game it was the case that we do learn it a lot earlier. So now we know how that works. It's that they the decal changes the vibe of the players to match that of the RG.
Also, for being called the UG, it's actually above the RG.
Yeah. Actually, I never thought about that. That's true. The underground is actually above the real ground.
Exactly.
I mean, I never understood why it was called the real ground, because the real ground just sounds dumb.
I mean, it's just like terms used in a video game.
Yeah. No, that is one thing I will say about the World's Review. I've always thought the term real ground just was dumb. I never liked the term real ground.
I don't know. I mean, people say real world a lot, so I mean, they probably just want to make it different in some way. So real and what's close to like world, ground, earth, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah. No, that's fine. And for most of the time, they just abbreviated it. And so I'm like, okay, I can ignore the meaning. Just be like, UG or G. Got it. Yeah, so like we see how the noise work too. The noise are in between, and that's why they can affect both player and real ground.
Real ground people.
Yeah. Also explains a little bit how the battling works and why it was on two different screens, technically. Because
not like it matters for the show or moving forward.
No, doesn't matter at all. In fact, it didn't matter as soon as the iPhone port was created. So,
yeah,
there's that. But yeah, we also see like just angels can view everything lower than them, and it's hard to look up.
So. Yeah. These week one reports you said are pretty simple.
Yeah, they're teaching you the concepts that will then later be used to explain more stuff. But they're not really explaining a whole lot because, again, week one really was just
introduce you to the concept.
Yeah. Which week one has great character development. I love week one because of the character development. But when it comes to the main story, you don't know what the main story is yet because you still think that it's 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But then we can also move on to, I guess, day 6, Secret Report 6, and talk about that one.
All right, I'll start. I receive periodic communication from the composer. While we maintain contact, I am prohibited from providing him with information for risk of unbalancing the game. I am permitted only to respond to his commissions from certain items, and even then, I am only able to create and deliver said items. The composer has requested increased phone functionality for use in the next game. Today, the proxy's partner, one Shiki Misaki, freed herself from her defining value, envy. With this, the composer is convinced of the proxy's victory on the 7th day. His confidence arises because the proxy's intervention was indispensable in causing his partner's growth. It signals the proxy's departure from his obsessive self-actualization loop. Previously, even the composer was unsure of his proxy's capacity for growth. Normally, the composer possesses a certain degree of clairvoyant foresight. His current down-tuned state, however, limits his abilities, clouding this supertemporal vision. Though able to observe the UG from the real ground, he is otherwise saddled with limitations. For one, his outward appearance, he looks younger than he would at full vibe frequency within the UG. Fortunately, this prevents the Reapers from recognizing him as the composer. To begin with, the composer contacts Reapers only through the conductor, so most are unaware of what he actually looks like. Additionally, as the being in the underground with the highest vibe, some lesser Reapers are incapable of perceiving him. The effects of down-tuning occur because the composer's vibe and RG's frequency are substantially different. For Reapers, the down-tuning necessary to exist in the RG is significantly less, and thus affects less prominent changes. That said, it depends on the Reaper. At any rate, the effect is minimal, making Reapers much more frequent visitors to the real ground. Provided they complete their duties, Reapers may do as they wish in the real ground with certain accepted boundaries.
Yeah. In the game, Yuzuki complains about the not being able to kill enough players. So she says, like, oh, maybe we should go to the real ground and get some more players, as she's like brandishing a gun. And
that's outside of their boundaries.
Yeah, Korea was like, offing people in the real world is against the rules. And she's like, yeah, I know, I'm joking.
Although she probably wanted to.
Yeah, she probably did. But here, so envy was not something that was talked about in the show at all. But on day 5, the game master Higashizawa talks about to Shiki and says like, oh, you're full of envy and all you are is like envious, and that's the best ingredient for my cooking, whatever. And that's when Neku learns that they're dead from the game master.
Mm-hmm.
So day 6 is Neku dealing with learning that he's dead and freaking out, while also Shiki pretty much giving up the game. Like the facade is broken. She's no longer this bubbly, bright, cheerful personality. She's just like, yeah, whatever. We don't need to win. Like, just broken.
Mm-hmm.
And she explains that she was envious of Eri, and that's why she ended up with Eri's body. But now all she wants is her body back. And that, like, everything she was doing, the bubbly personality, the cheerful nature, that was all just her trying to act like Eri. That wasn't the real her. And so Neku helps her realize, hey, like, you don't have to be envious because you could be your own person. You can do something that Eri can't do.
Yeah. I mean, and it kind of comes across in the show too. Like, you can
it just feels rushed.
Tell. No, and I won't deny that, but I mean, I'm still saying that you can kind of like sense the idea.
Yeah.
It isn't like straight up said to you, but I mean, you can gather it.
Yeah. Also, we learn here that all the phone upgrades that Josh Neku get, the scanner and the photos, that was requested back in week 1.
Mm,
Josh has been planning this the whole time.
I see.
Um, we also see that the composer has been watching over the proxy, Neku.
Mhm.
Um,
Which I mean, I mean, is we kind of see in the real thing, but they just more out like are straight up telling me something there. But
yeah.
besides the point.
Hey, this giant noise in the sky that's just erasing players and they can't even fight back. Yeah, let's just make Josh show up and cause a giant beam of light.
Yeah, especially when he's supposed to be tuned down, supposedly.
Well, to be fair, even in the OG, unlike Reapers, he gets to keep some of his powers.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So like, and that's the scary thought too. That's him in his weakened state.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part. Um,
Yeah, seeing a full powered Joshua and having to fight that would have probably been pretty hard.
yeah, we never actually see. Well, we do see him
Honestly,
in his.
honestly, that's kind of a shame. It was like a missed opportunity to do it for like a fun like secret boss type thing.
In another day, you can find Joshua, and he will give you a time trial.
Well, I know that, but I mean by like actually fighting Josh at full power.
Yeah. We do see him in his up
Not
vibe
like not
form, but
saying
we
it
never.
has to, and like not saying it has to be canon or anything, but it would have been a fun fight.
That was the beauty of another day is that it could have been not canon and canon.
Yeah.
Um,
But you aren't actually fighting Josh in that, are you? It's just a time trial.
it's a boss rush. Yeah. Um, no, it's literally like, yeah, I am, working with you, like, because you play as Neku during another day.
Mhm.
And so it's main game Joshua being like, yeah, I'm working with a you from another world, and I'm kind of just waiting for my ride. So I got time. Let's see how powerful you are. And he just throws a bunch of bosses at you. Um, and he's like, wow, I was right to choose another alternate version of you. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's really much to say about this line, but like, oh, he's typically has this clairvoyant foresight. It's literally just like, yeah, he has powers and he doesn't have those, and those never actually come up to mean anything.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Clairvoyancy, I never really thought of as one of his powers. So,
because it never actually comes up. So they're explaining why it doesn't come up. It's like he should have it.
yeah, I mean, I guess they do say a certain degree. So, I mean, it could just be very light. But
Yeah. Well, he definitely does have some ability, if not total clairvoyancy, some really good predictive skills.
mhm.
Like he's always one step ahead of Minamoto, and Minamoto's whole goal is to throw a wrench in Joshua's plans.
Yeah.
And like he doesn't know exactly what Shades is doing, but he knows that Shades has some big plan.
Hmm.
Like Shades isn't just like going small. He knows Shades has some world changing of plan. So
Hmm.
there's that. Um, so this is how the conductor got away with everything was because the composer only really talks through the conductor.
Hmm.
So the conductor just has to be like, "Oh, I need to go talk to the composer real quick. Give me a second. Just run to the bathroom and then come back out."
Hmm.
It's like,
Great excuse to go run to the bathroom.
yeah. Um, Speaking of which, I need to go talk to the composer real quick. Give me a second.
Oh, he was actually serious.
Okay, I'm back. I was joking. That was a joke. Could you,
No,
okay, please tell me you heard the door slam.
I did.
Yes. Okay, let's go.
I thought you were actually serious.
No. Um, I just thought that would be really funny. Uh, yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I mean, like you said, these week one secret reports aren't going to have like particularly too much to dig into yet, just because it's concept introduction basically.
yeah, we see a little bit more of the self-actualization loop that Neku's getting out of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much like, and we do see that in the show a little bit too, of him starting day 5, being, or not day 5, day 4, um, talking about how I don't want to talk to people, just let me read their minds. It's easier to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And then by the end of it, he's cheering up Shiking, being like, hey, I don't even want you to change, be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So like we see him breaking out of his own head and caring about other people. So
Yeah. But no, I mean, otherwise, yeah, I think that about covers it for episode 2 and the secret reports that go alongside it.
yep,
So
sounds good.
yeah, other than that, be sure to check out the original 7 days podcast if you haven't, and any of our streams and other stuff prior to this. Um,
Otaku Oasis
uh,
Live, new Neo should be up relatively soon. No promises, but
hopefully.
we are actually pretty for Neo. It's just I've not been had a haven't had a good way of exporting and uploading.
Yeah, you're just gonna need to figure out a day to like export stuff.
Yeah, but we have a lot of footage and we're pretty far in the game. So like there
We
really
just
is
need to get it up
stuff on the
there.
way. Yeah.
But otherwise, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you for watching.
Bye.